He calls himself the Condor.
Hide the cocaine! Hide the cocaine!
The story of the world's most notorious hacker starts and ends with the FEDS.
The FBI's most wanted computer hacker is behind bars. Kevin Mitnick was jailed without bond in Raleigh, North Carolina, where he was arrested this week. He's accused of breaking into corporate computers nationwide.
After the invention of the modern-day computer, laptops, and the sudden rise of the internet in the late 20th century, the issues of cybercrime and cyber hacking came on board. Whilst there were a few cybersecurity experts recruits fighting against these crimes, people who knew a lot about cybersecurity were using their knowledge to cause havoc to the society, like the 15-year-old kid who hacked into NASA and shut down all their computers for 21 days straight just to intercept over 3,000 emails, steal passwords, and cruise around like an employee, or Kevin Poulsen, who hacked the federal computer and dug into files of the President of the Philippines. But yet, none of them can be compared to the Darkside Hacker, Kevin Mitnick, who is now a consultant, owns his very own cybersecurity company that helps prevent people from hackers just like him. He's a very close friend with Steve Wozniak, the co-founder of your favorite technology brand Apple, and now he's working alongside the FBI. But before working alongside the FBI, he haunted the FBI, the CIA, the LAPD, and the entire American Police Department. He was once the most wanted man in America, striking fear into the heart of American citizens and the world in general. Famous internet service providers and tech giant companies like the DEC, Nokia, Motorola, Novell, Fujitsu, and the NEC were all scared of him. Even while convicted into prison, the website Yahoo was hacked with a statement saying, "Free Kevin." The Feds and CIA of the United States were so terrified of him that they had to ban him from using computers or any device that has an internet connection.
In 2000, I wasn't allowed to use a computer for 3 years.
And I'm certain you're gonna have goosebumps if you knew how he managed to pull off this stunt. And trust me, things got very interesting when he became the most wanted man in America. Since birth, Kevin Mitnick has always been a smart man from the very start. In his class, he had always been the top 1% in mathematics and spelling. But everything changed very quickly when he met his neighbor, who was a magician. What fascinated him was how his audience were delighted after being deceived by his magic tricks. After seeing this stunning revelation, there was a spark in his eyes.
When I was a young kid, I was really fascinated with magic. And I used to ride my bike to the magic store on the weekends and after school to watch the guys in the magic shop perform the tricks over and over and over again because I always wanted to know the secret. So when I got to high school, I met this kid who can do magic with the telephone. He was involved in a hobby called phone phreaking. That's kind of the predecessor to computer hacking. You know, this is before computers were mainstream.
Right.
And I was just going, wow, this is so cool. And I was a prankster as well. And I wanted to learn all about the phone system so I could pull pranks on friends.
And this was the moment he decided to go big. He said in his words, "Fooling people with magic was cool, but learning how the phone system worked was fascinating." He stayed up all night and missed classes just to learn about phone security and how phone companies work. He took a written exam, met the requirements, and at his very young age, the Federal Communications Commission mailed him his radio license.
So one of my favorite pranks was to change my friend's home phone to a payphone. So whenever his parents tried to make a call, it would say, "Please deposit 25 cents. Then my friend would call me all upset, "Change it back, change it back." And I'd change it to a prison phone, collect calls only. Right, so I just love doing this stuff, and this is how I got involved with hacking. I was more of a prankster. You know, this what led me on this path and became quite addictive, like a computer game,
Right.
if you will.
And then he started his first hack. Bear in mind at this time he was only 12 years old. He had always took the bus to go anywhere he wanted. So one day he thought,
Wow, if I could get that punch and I can get those blank transfers, I could ride the bus system for free. Wouldn't that be cool?
so he walked up to the bus driver and asked him where he could get his own punches, saying he needed one for his school project. Now the bus driver, looking at this poor young kid, decided to help, so he directed him to the store without hesitation. The next step was getting books of blank transfers. So he asked himself, where can I see buses packed without any passengers in it? Well, what of a place where the buses are being cleaned or repaired? After a little bit of brainstorming, he went to a nearby bus depot, spotted a huge dumpster, and boom.
Jackpot! And I go, wow, and I get in the trash can and there's like tons of, half-used books of these blank transfers. So I started punching my own transfers to ride the RTD bus system for free.
After his first manipulative hack, he started practicing social engineering. which is the calculated manipulation of people, convincing them to do whatever you want without raising any form of suspicion. He had always loved the art of manipulation. No wonder his idols were Bruce Lee and Houdini. He already knew a little bit of magic. He already had a radio license, knew how radio circuit and radio companies worked. What he needed next was manipulative tactics.
People are the weakest link in security. People, not the technology. You don't have to be a technical wizard to hack into a system. I perfected a technique which is called social engineering.
While 13-year-old Kevin Mitnick was learning social engineering techniques, an 11-year-old boy named Shutomu Shimomura, who later crossed paths with Kevin, was still going to school with a goal to graduate as a physicist someday. One simple social engineering technique Kevin learned was posing as a manager of an established company just to get information about the company by calling the receptionist or a low-profile employee. For instance, one time he needed a requester code from the LAPD, so he called them and said, "Is your requester code 36472? And they responded, "No, 862883. Just like that, he has gotten what he needed. This was one technique he always uses and yet gets results every single time. This is one trick the YouTube hacker Prologue uses to catch the scammers. But as time goes on, Kevin needed a new challenge, and at the time computers were the next big thing. But no ordinary person can just get access to the personal computer easily. So he brainstormed a new plan, and little did he know that it was going to change the world. The journey to being the world's most wanted hacker started in Los Angeles, where the chairman of the computer science department in his high school gave him permission to use his personal computer. He started learning Fortran and basic programming language at first, and only after a few weeks, he wrote a program that looked like the phishing links we all know of today, in order to steal all the students' username and passwords. The good thing was that he wasn't stealing the passwords to do anything legal or sinister. He was just doing it for fun, but nobody cared. When the student found out, he was reported to the chairman and the news went over to the police. He wasn't arrested or faced any consequences because at the time, there was no law against stealing passwords. When he got to 17 years old, he decided to join PS College, a 2-year school to get a high school diploma and also to use a school computer. But after seeing what Kevin was doing with the computers, the science student chair had a meeting with his father and told him, "Your son already knows too much about computers and there is nothing we can teach him here at PS." So he dropped out and there was no computer he could use anymore. But then, the Apple II and IBM started producing computers that anybody could use, including hackers, and Kevin Mitnick couldn't have been more happier. 17 was one of his best years because he was still classified as a minor. He had hacked into different telephone companies not for any profitable reason, but for fun. And the most he got was a 90-day psychological evaluation. The day he had his 18th birthday, he knew at the back of his mind that if he slips up, he's going to jail for real this time. After the 90-day psychological evaluation, he was on probation, but anytime an unexplained failures in technology happens anywhere, everyone would think it was Kevin. However, he soon violated probation laws and was asked, "What should we do for you to stop hacking?" And he responded, "No Darkside Hacking." And an LA Times reporter gave him the nickname the Darkside Hacker. After his release, he was given a job at the LAPD to help catch hackers like him. He loved it, but after 2 months he was framed for a crime he didn't commit and he was off to the cell again. At just 20 years old, the police cell was literally his friend, but he was later released after 60 days. He laid low for some time, and after the probation, he started going out more and decided to hack somebody, and for the very first time, it was for his profitable gains, but this time, it was for love. He found a girl whom he liked. He asked her out, but she declined because she was engaged. He was keen on dating her, so he tried asking her out again before she opened up, saying she had suspicions that her boyfriend was lying about all the wealth he possesses. So Kevin chose to use his hacking skills to help her find out the truth. He made a few calls, hacked a little bit using his social engineering skills, and the truth came to light. The boyfriend had been lying all this while about his wealth. He wasn't as rich as he claimed, so they got disengaged and both of them started dating. It was a roller coaster for the couple. Life was fun again for Kevin, but as we all know, nothing so good lasts forever. A telephone company called GTE hired him, but he only lasted for 9 days. A system security company also hired him, but he got fired that same day, all because of his past criminal record. Meanwhile, Kevin and his new girlfriend soon got married eventually. He kept on hacking telephone companies, computer industries, and while he was trying to hack the Leeds University, he met Lenny, who worked for the DEC, a major American company in the computer industry. They tried hacking DEC together, and copying the company's software, but Lenny was a type that had a very big ego. He always tried to prove to Kevin that he was the best, to the point where he bet $150 if Kevin could bypass the digital lock to the computer rooms of the DEC that was just being installed in his company, and by luck, Kevin bypassed the code. But when it was time to pay up, Lenny refused. Kevin gave him a week to pay up, but still, Lenny refused. So Kevin decided to take matters into his hands. So he called Lenny's company, DEC, as an imposter, telling them to withhold Lenny's paycheck. Soon after, Lenny found out and was fuming. So he went to meet his boss, told him and Kevin have been hacking the DEC for a long time. The FBI was contacted and they all gang up to arrest Kevin using Lenny as the bait. So Lenny called Kevin into a spot so that he can give him his $150 as promised. They had a little chat and in no time, the area was flooded with police cars. The police took him away, and at his court hearing, he was also accused of hacking into NSA to obtain classified access codes, disconnecting his former probation officer's phone, and hacking into police department computers to erase his arrest records, which he subsequently claimed they were all false. Nevertheless, he was sentenced 1 year imprisonment. While at prison, he still managed to trick security guards and make calls as much as he liked using his magic skills. But after doing it for a while, he got caught. Some of his fellow inmates were outraged when they found that Kevin never made any money hacking, yet he was in prison. Whether Kevin was making money or just doing it for fun, hacking into companies and copying sensitive information without their permission is a serious offense. What if you use them for blackmail or the information gets into the wrong hands? As his release date was drawing closer, his divorce papers were also getting prepared. His wife was done with the feds and their questioning and all the hacking stuff, cause she knew Kevin would never stop hacking even if he's out of jail, and trust me, she wasn't wrong. Remember Satomi Shimomura? At this same time, he fulfilled his dream to become a physicist and also became a cybersecurity expert working for national security. After Kevin was released, he converted his hacking addictions into the gym, working out day in, day out. He worked a short-term job as a tech support person. His hacking days were all in the past now. He was getting into the best shape of his life, and most importantly, he was feeling great again. At least, that was what he thought. As the saying goes, once a hacker, always a hacker. After some time, he met a guy called Eric, who was a close friend to Kevin Poulsen, a fellow hacker who had just been arrested by the feds. Eric had something called SAS, and it was reported that the feds knew the arrested Kevin Poulsen was using this same SAS to do his own hacking. So the police were very aware of the SAS. But when Eric introduced his SAS software to Kevin Mitnick, he was fascinated about it, and his passion for hacking once again came to life. With this SAS, you would be invincible. You could monitor any phone, anytime and anywhere. But SAS aside, it was a good time to make some quick money to get a very good computer. There was an upcoming radio contest based on hacking into phone company switch at the central office that handled the radio station's line, and he couldn't wait for the contest to begin. He gathered his 3 hacker friends and they all came up with a plan to win the contest every single time. It was easy for them to win at first because their plan was genius, but the only downside was that no one could win more than twice in a year. So they would have to wait an extra year before they could compete again. So they came up with another plan. They offered a deal to families and friends they knew and would split the money 60-40 when the check comes. So after their first check came in, they took the 60% split among themselves and gave 40% to the family or friends they had a deal with. After 4 months, they ran out of friends, but fairly, they had already won about 50 times. But it was sad Facebook was not created then. They could have had even more friends. By then, Mark Zuckerberg was still 8 years old. Either way, they had won about 7 grand each. So he got a brand new Toshiba laptop with an impressive speed. Now you might be wondering, apart from the contest, how was he making money if he wasn't committing money fraud? Well, he was jobless but doing some stuff for a company, like finding people for car repossessions by tracking them down. While Kevin was enjoying his new computer, working in the day and hacking at night, he noticed something fishy about Eric's attitude, the man who introduced his SAS to him, and he wanted to find out. First, he social engineered and got the SAS so he could listen to Eric's incoming and outgoing calls. He called Eric's bank, and with some social engineering techniques, he got his bank information, his account balance and his banking transaction history, and saw an FBI agent name. So he looked into the FBI's profile and also his bank details, including his balance. Basically, he was doing some hardcore detective work. Unfortunately for him, Eric and the FBI agents were on a call and Mitnick was listening. At the end of the call, he found out they were trying to set a trap for him so they could send him back to jail. And it turns out that the same FBI agent who arrested the hacker, Kevin Poulsen, was behind all of this, hoping to arrest another hacker. After this shocking revelation, he immediately cleaned up his computer and got a device that would notify him anytime the Fed's cell phones are close to his area. He was always a step ahead of them, but not for too long. There is a law that states that if you're on federal parole or supervised release, you have to check in with the local probation office whenever you travel, and he had just arrived in Las Vegas to visit his mom for Thanksgiving. But before going to the probation office, he decided to find out if there were any case about him. So he hacked into the Las Vegas Police Department, and what he found out was this happening. He found out that he was now a wanted man. On one hand, he felt a little bit relieved he didn't walk into the probation office without doing his research. But on the other hand, Thanksgiving was also ruined. Months later, his probation was over. He traveled back to Los Angeles, but after some time, he went to use a payphone, and some investigators approached him just to speak with him. But he knew what was going to happen next, so he ran away. They chased him, but he eventually outrun them. And that was how he kept on running. He wasn't going to go back to prison. He had now become a fugitive on the run. The year was 1992. Airrack had told the feds who Kevin's ally was, his past hackings after his supervised release, how he got the SARS, and was using it to listen to calls and getting confidential information from both the feds and certified companies. And just like that, his arrest warrant was ready. His first plan was building a new identity so he could disappear for good, even if it meant leaving his friends and families behind. And he got the name Eric Weiss.
So I'm living in Denver, Colorado. Incidentally, I'm not living under the name of Kevin Mitnick. I'm under the name of Eric Weiss, because at the time I was a federal fugitive. I was hiding from the FBI, and my idol was Harry Houdini, and that's Harry Houdini's real name. So I thought I had a sense of humor.
So he left Las Vegas to Denver. The next step was getting a phone. So he devised a technique that would let him make calls that wasn't just untraceable, but also free, because money was becoming an issue. So after that, getting a source of income was a priority. He got several local newspapers looking for any vacant computer work he could apply for. He finally got an interview at a law firm, so he dressed nice and went to the interview. Different questions were thrown at him. He answered some correctly and failed some intentionally, so they don't have a thought of, if this guy is so good with computers, why does he have to settle with a low-level job like this? And they would start investigating him deeply. After some weeks, he got a job with a salary of $28,000. His basic everyday routine as a new Denver citizen was going to work from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m, go to the gym for a few hours, grab some food from a restaurant, and either go home or the law firm to entertain himself. And by entertainment, I mean hacking. Hacking to him was like playing a video game, but paying very close attention, cause any slip up and he's going back to jail. One of his biggest hacking goals was getting the source code of Novell, one of the biggest software companies in the world, at the time competing with Microsoft, which supposedly had the best security. He tried some social engineering but was having troubles and challenges breaking into the system, so he took a break from Novell and attacked Motorola, which was successful, but the happiness didn't last too long. He had just found out that an FBI agent was investigating the Novell hacker, which was him. But funny thing is, instead of panicking, Kevin decided to troll them a little bit. Then he typed, "Hey, I know you're watching me, but you will never catch me." Fast forward to today, they told Kevin they were actually laughing and was wondering how he knew they were watching him. But nevertheless, back to 1993, he continued hacking into Novell and also decided to target one of the biggest cell phone manufacturers, Nokia. Keep in mind, he was still on the run all these years. He bypassed the Nokia systems fast, but at the last stage of getting the source code for the latest Nokia smartphone, the feds were alerted and they set a trap for him, but he was too smart. He had to lay low for some time and tried another cell phone company, NEC, who had just released their latest smartphone. He got the source code for the phone so easily that he needed a bigger challenge, and this time he wanted the source code for the entire NEC phones used in the United States, the UK and Australia, in case one day he changed his mind to stay in another country on the run. By the way, the source code is a fundamental component of a computer program. The source code is usually kept secret or is privately owned and restricted. He got the NEC source code he was looking for, but the feds had started looking into the hacker seriously. After 2 years on the run, 1994, the law firm fired him because they thought he was consulting with other clients because he was using the PC and telephones more often. Before they start investigating his name, he decided to leave Denver for Seattle and got a new identity with the name Brian Merrill. Little did they know he was about to enter the lion's den. On his first day in Seattle, he found a copy of New York Times and found out he was on the cover page, which labeled him as cyberspace most wanted and one of the nation's most wanted computer criminals. He kept on thinking, I haven't stolen millions from a bank electronically like Stanley Rifkin. I haven't crippled the computers of any company or government agencies. I haven't stolen credit card data and run up bills. So why in the hell am I FBI's most wanted? The only good thing was that the picture on the newspaper was a very old picture of Kevin and was unrecognizable. This was where Shitomi Shimomura came in. He was one of the most skilled cybersecurity experts working with the FBI, but what Kevin didn't like about him was his big ego. And Kevin wanted to humble Shimomura, so he hacked his computer for days and got a very important file. Afterwards, he called Shimomura and this man was raging. With this file, Kevin could literally bring the whole country to their knees, but that wasn't his plan. Nevertheless, it was Shimomura's turn. He tried hacking into Kevin's computer with all the assistance he could get from the FBI, and when Kevin found out, they began texting back and forth. But what Kevin didn't realize was that they were tracking his location, and when Kevin realized, it was already too late, and in no time he was raided. He acted like he wasn't Kevin Mitnick. The feds were a little bit confused, so they searched his room, found all identity cards of names he has used in the past, and just like that, he was finally arrested. After his first court hearing, the whole press were active, and the next day, headlines came in saying, America's most wanted hacker has been arrested. Kevin has always been pissed off about how the media painted him like some sort of bad guy who wanted to harm the nation. He was sentenced to 5 years imprisonment for violating probation laws and possession of unauthorized access devices. While at prison, there was a movement going around in town saying, "Free Kevin."
You know who Kevin Mitnick is? No, I do not. Computer hacker who's been in jail for 3.5 years without a trial.
Putting a computer hacker in with sex offenders and murderers, I think, is probably the worst thing you could possibly do to somebody who has not murdered, is not a violent criminal.
Towards the end of his release, in 2000, he got released but was barred from using computers or the internet and was literally forced to become a new man.
So ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce to you the Chief Hacking Officer of KnowBe4 and the world's most famous hacker, who I'm also proud to call my friend. Please welcome Kevin Mitnick.
Thank you very much.
2 months after his release, the government asked him to fly to Washington to testify before the Senate Committee on Governmental Affairs to listen to his ideas of how to protect the government's computer systems.
With all of the incarceration, the U.S. government contacted you to see how they could better protect themselves.
Yeah, I was actually invited to speak at Congress. I warned them about the threat of social engineering and how that's going to grow and even be a threat to the country. So imagine I'm in custody for 5 years. I was released in January of 2000, and in March, I'm flying to Washington, D.C. to help our government.
That's a snap turn.
Yeah, a very snap turn. You know, he's out. Let's get his help.
Sure.
This was in 2000, and I don't think it really helped because they didn't take it seriously. They didn't really do anything. There was no action item. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Fast forward to 2019, and now we all know what a threat it is.
Soon after, he was invited to appear on numbers of news shows and talk shows. Suddenly, he became a celebrity, giving interviews to leading international publications. Since he wasn't able to use the internet, he made a book called The Art of Deception. He also authored The Art of Invisibility, The Art of Intrusion, and Ghost in the Wires, which this video is heavily based on. He also now runs the security firm Mitnick Security Consulting and is also the Chief Hacking Officer and part owner of the security awareness training company KnowBe4.
Now I help design courseware that the company uses to train individuals how to be aware of what the scam is, so they're not going to fall for it. I'm a public speaker, so I go around the world educating audiences and businesses on how to protect themselves against the threats out there. And I really enjoy doing that because it's kind of showing how the threats actually work and then educating the people inside what to do to make sure it doesn't happen to them. To steal your identity, your social security number, your date of birth, your mother's maiden name, takes about 60 seconds on the internet.
Wow.
There are the databases that are out there that allow you to do it.
He made the FBI's 10 most wanted list. He was twice convicted and was jailed for cybercrimes. But now he's gone from the dark side to helping companies combat attacks. He's currently the CEO of cybersecurity consulting firm Mitnick Security. Kevin, welcome back. We are delighted to have you with us.
And just like that, he transformed from being the most wanted hacker to one of the most wanted cybersecurity experts in the world, just like magic. So if you're also curious to know how his hacker friend Steve Wozniak co-founded one of the biggest technology company in the world, Apple, then click on this video here. I'll see you there. Peace.